Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's my co-host, Ryan Blake. And when it's bad, it's bad. When it rains, it pours, right? All those cliche statements, Ryan. This team just can't win for losing, man. It's a struggle right now.
I went to make my morning coffee and I realized we were out of creamer, but you know what we were not out of is Irish cream. So, good morning. If that gives you any idea how we're feeling today.
Yeah, you went to that game last night. Man, I don't even know where to begin. First, where we're going to begin is I'm going to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Royal Farms. Chicken Palooza continues at your neighborhood Royal Farms. This year's deals include a 3-piece meal for just $8 and an 8-piece meal for just $12. Plus, you can go to royalfarms.com and enter for your chance to win chicken for a year. And while you're there, vote for your favorite charity as Royal Farms is donating 10 cents for every 3-piece meal sold during Chicken Palooza to the winning charity. Plus, don't forget to get your Chicken Palooza gear to celebrate everyone's favorite season. So stop by your neighborhood Rofo today. You know, let's start with a little bit of the good. The Orioles traded Austin Hayes yesterday to the Philadelphia Phillies for Seranthony Dominguez and Christian Pache. Pache will now fill the roster spot of Austin Hayes as a true fourth outfielder. There won't be any feelings of obligation to play him a few times a week or to bat him versus left-handed pitching, though I'm sure Brandon Hyde will still inexplicably do that. He can be a true fourth outfielder and be used as a spot start here and there, like once or twice a week with, mainly coming in for defense and pinch running purposes like he did last night. Don't really have a problem there. You don't feel like you're obligated to play somebody who's been underperforming like Austin Hayes was. In Dominguez, you get a guy with an electric arm, has some control issues, but he's been very good in the past. And since May 1st, he's pitched to a sub-3 ERA for the Phillies. And he looked pretty decent last night. Gave up a couple of hits. He threw a fastball that went through the netting behind home plate and down the tunnel. But other than that, the electric arm was on full display last night. Ryan, how do we feel about the trade of Austin Hayes for Seranthony Dominguez and Christian Pache yesterday?
I like it. I think it was necessary. Gives you a little more of a reliable arm in the bullpen, and he's the centerpiece of the deal, right? Seranthony Dominguez, a guy who can pump 99 out of the bullpen with a sinker. He's got a cutter, got a slider. His stuff grades out really well. It's just a matter of being able to control it. And the Orioles have shown in the past that they can get the most out of guys like that. We've seen it with Felix Bautista. We've seen it with Ynier Cano, more so last year than this year. But Seranthony Dominguez has a track record of success, and especially postseason success. So that's going to be huge for this club going forward. Christian Pache, to me, fills the Ryan McKenna role without the love affair with Ryan McKenna and the need to play him. Like you said, I mean, you nailed it. Defense, speed, kind of seems to me like more of a Jorge Mateo replacement than anybody. He doesn't have the same kind of burner speed, but he's got that elite defense. He can play in the outfield. You can put him out in left field at Camden Yards and feel comfortable. And you can spell Mullins or Cowser in center field when you need to. So I think it was a necessary move. There were some rumors about, a little bit of turmoil in the clubhouse with Austin Hayes, having trouble settling into his role as more of a backup or platoon option. He seems to be, based on the interviews we saw last night in Philly, he seems to be happy that he's gone, which, whatever, it's fine. It's always going to be weird trading a guy who's been around for so long. Hayes was the second longest tenured Oriole behind Anthony Santander. They debuted 3 weeks apart back in 2017. So he's been through the thick and thin of this Orioles team. And, it's weird to see him go, but it was a necessary move, and I think a very good move for this team.
And let's dive into that. I actually had that a little bit later in the show, but let's get into into Austin Hayes' reaction to this. Basically, he says in his interview, it's a great situation for a player to go from one first place team to another first place team. He's like, and now I feel like I'm on a team that has an even better shot at winning the World Series than the team I was on. And then we hear reports that Hayes was causing a bit of a rift in the clubhouse, being vocal about not getting playing time. An article came out in the Baltimore Banner saying that essentially some of the holdovers, some of the veterans on the roster were vocal about wanting more playing time, and some of the younger players who aren't here feel like they don't have anything left to prove at AAA and believe they belong on the big league roster. And how some of the young players that are here want those guys here because they're their buddies. Those are guys that they came up through the system with and that they believe in, they think should be playing. And it makes you wonder, Ryan, I almost called you Austin. It makes you wonder, what's Brandon Hyde's grasp on what's going on in the clubhouse right now? Like, what's his hold on the clubhouse right now? Because, when you have a lineup that on any given night could feature Jorge Mateo, Ramon Arias, and Ryan and James McCann. Is it James McCann? Yeah, James McCann. There's a Ryan McCann. He was a much better catcher. When you have a bottom third of your lineup that's an automatic out, and that was before I even mentioned Cedric Mullins, it can make the rest of the lineup have to press because they're like, look, if we don't get this done, we can't depend on the guys in the bottom half of this order. How much of that do you think is surfacing right now?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It definitely feels like it's coming to the forefront a little bit. Everything that we had heard up to this point was that guys like Hayes and Mullins had kind of gracefully accepted their new roles as not necessarily everyday guys. They were still playing a decent bit, but not in the lineup every day like they're used to. And everything we had heard to this point was that it was a smooth transition and that these guys were supportive of their teammates. And it's hard to say what's really going on behind the scenes, but this article from the Banner kind of lends credence to the idea that it might not have been as smooth as it seemed on the surface. And that's understandable, right? You got guys who have been big pieces of this team for a long time, and then younger guys come up with higher ceilings, and they're getting some run over them. And so it makes sense that they're a little frustrated. I mean, I don't begrudge a guy like Austin Hayes for his comment. I mean, he's right. The Phillies, as it stands now, the Phillies have a much better chance to win the World Series than the Orioles do. Yep. So he's not wrong. I didn't take it as shade or a slight to this team or anything.
Yeah, neither did I. I don't really care about the comments. No. You know what I mean? But what I care more about is the rift in the clubhouse.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they seem like such a close-knit group of guys, and I do believe that they are. But even if it's your best friend, right, who's getting playing time over you, you still want the playing time for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So I get it. And, everybody has the same goal, right? It's to win ball games and to win a World Series. But you also want to be a contributor to that. Mm-hmm. And when you're not, it feels like you're one of the less important guys, and it could cause a little bit of, a little back and forth. I don't think there have been any, shouting matches or, disdain or anybody, but it's tough to say. And obviously you hope that it's something that maybe with the subtraction of one of those guys that, maybe it'll bolster the clubhouse a little bit more.
Yeah, it's something that I think is worth keeping an eye on. We're going to get into, it's not in the notes, but I do want to, I went off on Twitter last night. I want to get into that a little bit. Because I firmly believe that Brandon Hyde should not be the manager of this ball club. But maybe we'll get into it later. Maybe we won't. But I've believed that for 2 years now. But we'll get into that later. The Orioles also, when I did this part of the notes yesterday, it was before Zach Eflin had been acquired by the Orioles. The Orioles acquire Zach Eflin from the Tampa Bay Rays for infielder Matt Korbath, outfielder Matthew Etzel, and right-handed pitcher Jackson Ballmeister. The Orioles got to get a starter who won 16 games last year with a 3.5 ERA. He has the lowest walk percentage in Major League Baseball since debuting in, 2016 that he debuted?
Yeah.
He just doesn't walk dudes. Just doesn't walk guys. He's going to have an opportunity to pitch in a pitcher-friendly ballpark in Baltimore. I like the move, Ryan. I don't think that the Orioles can be done. I don't think Seranthony Dominguez and Zach Eflin is enough to get this team back on track. Your thoughts on Zach Eflin, and then on the last part of that, is this enough to get them back on track?
Yeah, I'll start with the latter. It's not enough. It's very helpful. I like both trades a lot, but there's more that has to be done for sure. And I think it's more so the fact that you get two guys who are going to help you, but they're not world breakers, right? They're not. You're not going to be extreme difference makers. Now, my reaction to Zach Eflin is that at worst he's fairly reliable, right? He's a guy who I'm comfortable going into a playoff series with Eflin as my number 3 starter. Would I prefer someone a little better? Sure, I think we all would, but it's a better alternative to a Dean Kramer or an Albert Suarez or a Cole Irvin or a Povich or a McDermott, right? He's got playoff experience before. He made one start last year for the Rays against the Texas Rangers. I believe he went 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, a pair of walks, 3 strikeouts. So not necessarily sharp in the postseason last year in his one start. Although, to be fair, no one was really sharp against the Texas Rangers in last year's postseason. He did pitch in relief in 2022 in the playoffs. He made 10 relief appearances, gave up 0 runs in 8 of them, had 1 blow-up appearance where he gave up 3. But, a reliable guy, a veteran arm. Like you said, he doesn't walk guys, so that's not a concern. And so, yeah, definitely a better alternative to what we had, but there's definitely more that needs to be done in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Look, Zach Eflin's under team control through next year too. He's due $18 million next year, and the Orioles are going to pay that. So you already know you've got Grayson and Eflin and Kramer for your rotation next year. They do need another pitcher, hopefully somebody that's controllable. I don't know who that is. Could it be a Tyler Anderson from the Angels? Could the Orioles make a move for Blake Snell or Logan Webb from the Giants? Are they going to go get Pete Fairbanks? Are they going to go get Carlos
Jameson Taillon's the name.
Jameson Taillon.
I think you were about to say Carlos Estevez.
Yeah, Carlos Estevez, Tanner Scott. I think they need another starter, and I think they need another reliever. And I wouldn't hate the idea of seeing another bat. I don't think that your right-handed hitting outfielder can be Christian Pache. I just don't think that can be the case.
Could it be Connor Norby?
It could be Connor Norby if you're comfortable with him playing the outfield. But he's not going to play left field at Camden Yards.
No.
I mean, he was, and he's not going to play right field over Anthony Santander, pretty much over Anthony Santander. And I think you'll see Ryan O'Hearn in right field before you see Connor Norby out there. So I think it's got to be another outfielder. I would love for them to go get Brent Rooker, but if you're going to get Brent Rooker, there's guys that aren't going to be playing, but maybe, especially, that defensive gaffe by Hessen Kjerstad yesterday. I've been championing Kjerstad playing left field. He's looked comfortable out there. He's looked like he's played a good outfield in both corners, and I think that bat needs to be in the lineup. But that play was terrible. Yeah. That play where he's running back on the ball, a circuitous route. He looked like he had no idea what he was doing. Then he drops the ball and runs into the wall and falls on the ground. Like, it was. You don't say that a guy should be traded for one play, but I think that it kind of shows us what Brandon Hyde and Michael Elias have been a little bit scared of with Hessen Kjerstad playing the outfield. And I'm wondering if that their feelings on that and the fact that now we saw the defense there makes Hessen more of a likely trade candidate than somebody else that we thought might go before him. It's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on for sure. But I think that the Orioles do need another outfielder that can actually hit. And I've heard a lot of fans talking about Kevin Pillar. And I wouldn't hate Kevin Pillar for the defense. He's not a terrible hitter. He's not a great hitter, but he can fill that Austin Hayes role a little bit better than Austin Hayes filled it, in my opinion, at least. But
yeah, defensively, sure.
We'll see. I don't know that the Orioles are going to add a bat. I think that they can probably write the offense without the bat. Before we get into without adding a bat, excuse me. Before we get into that, I want to remind you today's show is brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. if you can tell by the tones in our voices, the vibes aren't great on the show to start out today. And that's because of yet another debacle of a baseball game last night. Grayson Rodriguez gets the start against the Padres last night. He goes 5 innings, pitches into the 6th, allows 7 hits. He took a shutout into the 6th inning, but immediately allowed a leadoff single followed by a 2-run homer by Jurickson Profar, which it's not the last time we were going to hear from Profar. Grayson, 5 innings, 5+ innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, just 2 strikeouts. And Ryan, you noted he wasn't dominant, but he did take that shutout into the 6th inning. I defend Grayson Rodriguez up and down, but it feels like he runs out of gas pretty quickly in these games. He gets beyond the 5th inning, and it feels like he becomes a shell of what he was the first 5 innings.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you want to see. To his credit, everybody gives up hits to Luis Ariz.
Yeah.
So that, and then Profar, it was a great at bat. I'll give
career
Profar
year for
credit.
Profar. He has never done anything remotely close to this. What he's doing this year.
Yeah, and it's good to see, except for last night. But yeah, look, Grayson threw strike 3 to Profar, and it was a poor frame job by Adley. It was called a ball. It should have been strike 3. If there was a robot behind the plate, would have been a called strike 3. And then Profar fouls off a couple more pitches and takes the 3-2 pitch out of the yard. His pitch count was already high, so I kind of understand him running out of steam there. But, when you take a shutout into the 6th, you want to get that quality start, and he wasn't able to do that. Just an unfortunate inning all around. And the next couple runs scored, reached on an error by Gunnar Henderson, a throwing error. Should have been picked by Mountcastle at first, but he wasn't able to save him. And then that play by Kerstad in left field. So a 4-run inning that really could have been a scoreless inning. Just when it rains, it pours. Just one of those situations. Just hard to watch.
Just a bad game. Now, for the Orioles, Jordan Westburg, he went 1 for 3 with a walk, a strikeout, and an oppo taco. Love to see Westburg get a 17th home run last night. He's been scuffling a bit. I'm going to get into it here, how a lot of important Orioles have been really riding the struggle bus here recently. Gunnar Henderson, 1 for 3, 2 walks, line drive double into the left center field gap last night. That's been good to see because, again, Gunnar is one of those people who's not immune to the criticism here. He has not been hitting. He's been hitting, but he hasn't been Gunnar hitting. Colton Cowser, 2 for 4, riding a 7-game hitting streak. It is really nice to see his back get going. He's looked like a different player since the All-Star break. Anthony Santander, career year in a walk year for Santander. 1 for 5, a 442-foot bomb to left center field last night. Takes the team lead from Gunnar Henderson with his 29th home run. Gunnar has not homered in like 2 weeks, and he hasn't homered. He has 2 home runs in July. Again, about to get into that. And then Adley last night, 0 for 4, Ryan. He's slashing 125, 253, 234 in July. He was OPSing 821 entering the month. He's down to 765. He's going to be the first guy that we talk about here, so I'm going to hold your comments until we get to that. And then Craig Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell comes in inexplicably after throwing 28 pitches on Thursday afternoon and blowing a 3-run lead to the worst team in the National League in the bottom of the 9th inning. Craig Kimbrell's brought into a tie ball game and immediately gives up a 2-run homer to Jurickson Profar. Orioles go down 6-4. They go quietly in the 9th, and they lose that ball game 6-4. Why in the hell was Craig Kimbrell in the game? And before you answer, let me just tell everybody, Craig Kimbrell pitched on July 7th. He did not pitch again until July 14th, and then did not pitch again until July 20th, and then did not pitch again until July 25th. So he's had a minimum of 5 days off between outings this entire month, and then throws 28 pitches, blows a lead, and gets used in the 9th inning of a tie ball game last night with Yennier Cano, who threw 6 pitches on Thursday, and who has thrown less pitches since the All-Star break than Craig Kimbrell threw on Thursday. What are we doing here?
Brandon Hyde has been so reluctant all season long to use Craig Kimbrell in non-save situations. He's done it like 3 or 4 times, and they've either been in tie games or 4-run leads. Right? There was one. I think once he came in with a 4-run lead, and it was because they scored a run in the top of the ninth to get a little insurance. Hyde has been so reluctant to use Kimbrell unless it's a save situation, and he finally decides to do it on a night after he threw 30 pitches and blew a 3-run lead.
And it's immediately after your team claws out 2 runs to get to tie the ball game in the bottom half of the inning before, and then
I'm sitting in the stands expecting Yennier Cano to come in, and I'm sitting there on my phone, and then the lights turn off and the lights in the stadium start to go wild, and I look up and the T. Rowe Price sign has flames on it, and Craig Kimbrell's the one coming in. I'm like, oh God, like it's inexplicable, man. I don't get it. He's gone so many, like you said, he's had like 5 days off between every outing this month. Hyde hasn't been using him in non-safe situations, and last night's the opportunity to do it. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. I can't explain it. I know you don't want me to explain it, but I can't. It's frustrating as hell, man.
And then you have the situation in the bottom of the 8th. Do you have any confidence that Cedric Mullins can hit a 101-mile-an-hour fastball? No. So, and I get that Connor Norby is a rookie, but why in the blue hell is Cedric Mullins pinch hitting for Connor Norby with a runner on third base and 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th? Why is?
Because he's a lefty and there's a right-handed pitcher on the mound, and Connor Norby's a right-handed hitter.
It's mind-numbingly stupid to me. Yeah, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. How do you not know that you're going to send Cedric up in that moment and he's going to swing through 3 fastballs? How do you not know that's going to happen? How does everybody in the stadium, everybody watching on TV at home know exactly what's about to happen? And the manager of the ball club does not. How is that a thing? And the entire team knows it too. They're rallying. They've tied the ball game, and then they watch you send up Cedric Mullins to pinch hit for Connor Norby. They watch you do that.
Would have been a great opportunity for Norby to make a statement in his home debut, but hey, he loves his lefty-righty matchups.
Right now, I am so done with Brandon Hyde. I've been done with Brandon Hyde since game 108 of 2022. I watched that man single-handedly keep the Orioles out of the playoffs in 2022. I didn't say much last year after April because I didn't feel like getting harassed about it. But I've watched him destroy this ball club all season long. They have way too much talent to lose 20 of 36 games, to lose 7 of 11. Way too much talent. And yeah, I know Kyle Bradish got hurt, and John Means got hurt, and Danny Coulomb got hurt, and I know that Dean Kramer missed a month, and I know that Felix Bautista has been out all year. I understand that, but this team the offense has been terrible for a month, and they have way too much talent to be that bad. And I tweeted out last night, fire Hyde. This team needs an effing wake-up call. In 2022, the Philadelphia Phillies fired Joe Girardi midseason because he lost the clubhouse and they were not playing well for him. What happened after that? The Phillies went on a 7-game winning streak. They had the best record in the National League from the moment that Joe Girardi got fired, and they ended up in the World Series and they went 7 games. Brandon Hyde does not deserve to be managing the Baltimore Orioles. Any team that goes through a rebuild, the manager that led them through that rebuild does not get to see it come to fruition. Somebody else gets hired because you need a legitimate, experienced manager that knows how to win baseball games, knows how to manage in clutch situations. You need that guy in your dugout leading your team to a World Series. And this team will never win a World Series with Brandon Hyde as their manager. It will never happen. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that him blowing up and going after the Yankees dugout makes every other mind-boggling decision that he makes okay. Fire the manager because he's terrible, and I'm done watching him cost this team ball games.
There are two types of Orioles fans in my estimation. The fans that think the Orioles won 101 games last year because Brandon Hyde was the American League Manager of the Year. And there are fans that think the Orioles won 101 games last year in spite of Brandon Hyde because of all the talent he was surrounded with. And we are seeing, over the last few weeks especially, we're seeing a lot of people who have been Hyde defenders kind of fall into that second category where, you know, we've been questioning his decisions for a while now. And even the fans that love him have been questioning his decisions for a while, whether it's lineup decisions, who to bring in from the bullpen, when to pull your starting pitcher. There have been a lot of questionable decisions over the last couple of years, a lot of them. And the justification has been, well, he was just manager of the year. Okay. He had the American League Rookie of the Year. He had Adley Rutschman behind the plate. He had Felix Bautista, who bailed him out on several occasions by being able to pitch the 9th and the 10th in close extra inning games. Because what did we see? When it wasn't Bautista going 2 innings, it was Mike Baumann coming in for the 10th. And guess what happened? We'd lose the game. There have been so many questionable decisions over the years, and it's finally starting to look like we have been winning in spite of him. And that's really what it comes down to for me. And I'm with you. I don't have the same kind of negative feelings you do toward Brandon Hyde, but I certainly don't have positive feelings toward the guy at this point. I agree this team needs a wake-up call. If firing Hyde is the move, then so be it. I'm not sure that Elias has the guts to do that in midseason.
It's never going to happen.
No. But man, it's hard to watch, and especially with these new, these stories coming out about the turmoil in the clubhouse with some of these outfielders and guys who think they deserve playing time and aren't getting it. Like, that's on you, man. You're the manager of the team. You got to give these guys a kick in the pants and make something happen. And he seems to be so complacent with this because we're in first place and because we have a 2-game lead on the New York Yankees. Yeah, that's all great. But look at the weaknesses of this team. Is this a World Series team in its current situation? No, it's not. And that starts with the guy who's pulling the.
They're not even a playoff team in their current. They're going to make the playoffs. But look at how badly the Yankees are playing. The Orioles should have a double-digit lead in this division. And they have a 2-game lead. And everyone's like, oh, we're still in first place. My buddy texts me after every Orioles loss, and he says, thank God the Yankees suck. Thank God the Yankees suck. And then the people that argue the Orioles are in first place in the best division in baseball. The Red Sox can't have won like one game in the last week. The Yankees can't win. The Rays are 500. The Blue Jays are 8 games under 500. Well, how is this the best division in baseball? They were last year. They ain't this year. The National League West is the best division in baseball. The National League West is, by a wide margin, not the American League East. And you leave Connor Norby in to hit last night, there is not one person that questions that. There is not one person that sits there and says, you should have pinch hit Cedric Mullins. Not one person thinks that. Your entire team and your entire fan base knew what was going to happen when Cedric Mullins stepped into that box last night. I think that Cedric Mullins probably knew what was going to happen when he stepped into that box last night. The only person in the world that didn't know what was coming was Brandon Hyde. And if he did, it's malpractice.
And it would be one thing if it was just guys who are slumping, right? And yes, there are plenty of guys who are slumping, and we're going to get into some of that. But it's the lack of fundamentals that we've seen from this team over the last month. Routine plays that aren't being made, simple decisions that are going awry, just poor decisions all around. And it'd be one thing, look, Gunnar Henderson's allowed to go through an offensive slump, right? Adley Rutschman's allowed to go through an offensive slump. But when it's a team collaboration of poor fundamentals and lack of execution, that starts with the guy in the dugout, and that guy is Brandon Hyde. there's got to be some accountability, man. There's got to be.
I watched him speaking during spring training, and he would make 2 points about something, and then he didn't know what else to say, and he would say, et cetera, et cetera. I watched him do that like 5 different times in videos that the Orioles would post, et cetera. It's because he didn't know what to say. Then I watch him in the post-game press conference on Thursday, and he says, we've been doing this a lot this season where we score a bunch of runs early and then we don't step on the opponent. Are you the manager of the team? Like you have the hitting coaches in the dugout. You have the players there with you. Like, are you lighting a fire under these guys at all? Are you demanding excellence out of these guys? Are you going to your hitting coaches and being like, hey, we seem to have an issue where we scored 3 or 4 runs at the beginning of the game and then get nothing else the rest of the game. What do we do about that? Maybe he's doing that and they just don't know. But if that's the case, then how are they still the hitting coaches? Right? I'll tell you what, the hitting coaches and the players aren't telling you to bat Cedric Mullins, James McCann, and Ramon Arias and Jorge Mateo, the bottom 4 of your lineup. They're not telling you to do that on any given day. They certainly aren't doing that. And then last night, he says Craig Kimbrell, he gets ahead of Profar and then throws a thigh-high fastball with a base open. With a base open. He will not intentionally walk a hitter. No matter how many times it proves to be the right thing to do, no matter how many times that hitter is the guy who has been the offensive burst for the other team in that game, he will not do it. And then has the audacity to say, and then Kimbrell throws a thigh-high fastball with a base open. Then put him on base. You call if they intentionally walk somebody. Kimbrell doesn't make that call. Adley doesn't make that call. You make that call. Put him on base. He's an all-star. He just hit a 2-run homer. You got a right-handed batter coming up after him. Put him on base. No, you let him hit a 2-run homer by allowing Craig Kimbrell to pitch at all and to pitch to him. It's not just the pitching, though.
Deep breaths.
It's not just the pitching. The Orioles All-Stars, they had 6 All-Star finalists. We're not talking about Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns has been awesome. Adley, and we're going to start with Adley. I'm just going to go through this quickly, and then we'll talk about each one. Adley had a 5-hit game on June 21st to raise batting average to 305. In 25 games since then, he's hitting 141 with a 261 slugging percentage and just 5 extra base hits in 92 at-bats. He does have an 18-14 walk-to-K ratio and a 132 batting average on balls in play. Suggests he's hitting into some bad luck, but the fact remains he's hitting 141 over basically more than a calendar month. Gunnar Henderson had a ridiculous month of June. He recorded hits in 24-28 games, including 10 multi-hit games. He batted .342 with a 1081 OPS, slugging 8 home runs and 11 doubles. His 4th hitless game was in the final game of that month, June 30th. It was that Sunday Night Baseball game. They lost 11-2. He announced he was participating in the Home Run Derby. He went 0-for-4 with 4 strikeouts, took the Golden Sombrero that game. Since making that announcement, including that game, in 20 games since then, Gunnar is hitting .253, which isn't terrible, with a 689 OPS and just 6 extra base hits in the month of July. In 83 at-bats, 24 strikeouts and just 6 walks. .333 batting average on balls in play, which suggests he's making significantly less contact right now. Ryan O'Hearn. Now,
I'm going to let you continue with these guys, and I'm not going to spoil anything. But if there are any 2 guys on this roster who get a pass for going through a slump, it's Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. But to have them both in this kind of a funk at the same time, that's going to have a ripple effect.
Ryan O'Hearn, he did have 2 hits last night. He recorded a double, a home run, and a walk in 4 plate appearances on July 3rd, raising his batting average to .294. In 15 games since then, O'Hearn's batting .196 with a .650 OPS and just 4 extra base hits. Only 9 strikeouts in 53 plate appearances, and his BABIP is .222. So just like Adley, it seems like as though he's hitting into some bad luck. Jordan Westburg homered last night, walked. He collected 4 hits in the game on June 25th to raise his average to 287. He immediately followed that up with hits in 12 of his next 13 games, but he hit just 245 over that 13-game stretch. Overall, since his 4-hit game, Westburg is hitting just 207 with a 634 OPS in 23 games, despite collecting hits in 16 of those contests. And what's more alarming is that, similar to Gunnar, he has just 3 walks compared to 22 strikeouts, and those 3 walks have come in his last 6 games played. His 227 batting average on balls in play also suggests he's making significantly less contact when you compare it to his 317 season BABIP and 324 career BABIP. Ryan Mountcastle, 2 home runs and drove in 5 on June 4th, raised his average to 286 and his OPS to 836. He was having a career year. Since that game, in 40 games, Mountcastle has just 9 extra base hits, including 2 home runs. He's batting 243 with a 612 OPS. His batting average has dropped 17 points to 269, and his OPS has dropped 92 points to 744. The only one of the Orioles' 6 All-Star finalists that's doing his part is Anthony Santander. He followed up a tremendous June where he led the majors with 13 home runs while hitting 264 with a 960 OPS. With an equally impressive July, he's got 7 home runs. He's hit 299 with a 957 OPS in 19 games, and he's on a current 12-game hitting streak. Ryan, all of this is to say that, yes, the Orioles need pitching. Craig Kimbrell has been terrible. But they have 5 of 6 positional All-Star finalists who have crawled into an offensive hole at the same time and just died over the last month plus. It's as much to blame as the Orioles' poor record since Kyle Bradish got hurt as anything else. Your thoughts?
Just hard to watch, man. I mean, you nailed it with the numbers. They've been bad all around. And there have been times where it looks like the offense is turning a corner. Like the Sunday game against Miami, they put up 6 runs in the first 4 innings.
Thursday.
Couple of home runs from Cowser. Thursday, sorry. The afternoon game. 6 runs in the first 4 innings, and you think, all right, they're starting to figure it out. I was having fun watching that game. Corbin Burns was dealing. The offense was looking good. And then, lo and behold, the offense falls flat. The bullpen blows the game. They were able to come away with a win in 10 innings, but it wasn't pretty. I mean, even I tweeted after Mountcastle's RBI single, Mullins was thrown out at the plate trying to be the second run, and then Mountcastle was thrown out a second. So it was an inning-ending double play on a go-ahead RBI single in the 10th inning.
That was so embarrassing.
Even when, like, and someone responded to my tweet and made a good point. I've never seen a go-ahead RBI hit in extra innings that was so bad the team account didn't even post a video of it. Like, just awful fundamental baseball. There's 1 out. There's no reason to send Mullins there. The right fielder was playing shallow. Granted, Sanchez had to make a perfect throw, and he did. But that's an ill-advised send, and then Mountcastle's got to have better situational awareness there. Just embarrassing to watch. We take the lead, and it's like huh? It was just inexplicable. So we've had these moments where it seems like a corner is being turned, and then
I'll tell you, last night felt they lost, and the offense was not good last night, despite the fact that they hit 2 home runs. But
they had 2 hits going into the 6th or 7th.
But there were a few signs last night that leads me to believe that maybe they're about to turn the corner. Gunnar,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to expand on that a little bit. You know, that was my first reaction when Westburg hit that opposite field homer. Westburg's been in a heck of a funk, and he's at his best when he's able to drive the ball to the opposite field. So his first at bat in the bottom of the 2nd inning, he goes over the right center field wall, and it's like, all right, Westburg's seeing the ball a little better. Gunnar Henderson draws a walk in his leadoff appearance, and then just absolutely ropes an opposite field double into the gap. Again, Gunnar at his best when he's willing to go the other way and drive the baseball, stay through it, put a good swing on it. It looked really good, right? He wanted 3 out of the batter's box, you could tell, but it wasn't in the cards. Profar got to it pretty quick. So yeah, there were some signs last night. It's like, all right, this is what I want to see out of this guy. And even Santander, he carries an 0 for 4 into the 8th inning and then hits a 442-foot just massive blast into the visitors' bullpen. It's like, all right, that's what we want to see. But Santander, like you said, has been the only guy who has shown any kind of life at the plate, aside from maybe Cowser. So, yes, some signs that, maybe these guys are starting to figure it out a little bit.
Last night,
But O'Hearn had 2 hits. And I was thinking about this, too. Who's the Padres
Bob
manager?
Melvin?
It's Bob Melvin. He managed that game like it was Game 7 of the World Series with his pitching matchups. And Ryan O'Hearn had to face 3 lefties, and he got 2 hits. Now, one of them was a swinging bunt down, it was just in no man's land off of Yuki Matsui. And then his double in the bottom of the 8th to get things started was a little bit of a cleaner hit, a ground ball, hard ground ball down the line. Kind of a risky decision to go for 2, but he made it safely and ended up scoring the tying run. So yes, there were some signs there, but I was thinking like Melvin brings in a lefty to face Santander and O'Hearn in the bottom of the 3rd after the lefty was able to get Rutschman out. And I'm thinking, God, Brandon Hyde in the dugout has to be so pissed off that he doesn't have Austin Hayes here to pinch hit for Ryan O'Hearn in the 4th inning. And then O'Hearn gets a single, and then they bring in another lefty to face him in the 6th. And I'm thinking, God, Brandon Hyde, I know he wants to pinch hit for him right here with a right-handed bat. And then again in the 8th, Ryan O'Hearn's up. There's a lefty on the mound. Brandon Hyde's chomping at the bit to get a righty in there. I was almost surprised he didn't pinch hit Christian Pache for him. But O'Hearn able to go 2 for 3 against the lefty was good to see. So, yeah, there are some signs that they're starting to figure things out a little bit, but it's got to be part of a win, right? You can't. It's hard to look at a debilitating loss like the one last night in a very winnable game and say this team's turning
it's all we got,
because they're not.
It's all we got. Now, I'm wondering. Somebody posted the scene from Moneyball where Billy Beane says to Art Alec, "You can't play Pena at first tonight." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna play Pena at first." So no, you can't because he's been traded to Detroit. And I'm wondering, because that lineup last night was the best possible lineup that Brandon Hyde could have posted last night. It was the best. It was a great lineup. It was one of the best lineups he's posted all year. And you wonder, did Mike Elias say to him, not, well, you can't play Hayes tonight, but say, look, these are the guys we want playing now, play them. And when Hyde, and you've got to stop pinch hitting for guys just because a different-handed guy is on the mound. Because the fact that Brandon Hyde didn't pinch hit for O'Hearn in the 6th or the 8th inning, that seems so against the grain for what Brandon Hyde is all about. And I'm wondering if there was a conversation there where they were like, look, we traded Hayes so that you don't have to feel like you have to start him anymore. And look, guys like Ryan O'Hearn and insert name here, they need to stay in the lineup. We need these guys, some of our best hitters, we need them playing every game. It makes me wonder.
Yeah. And something I meant to bring up earlier, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but my seats, the tickets I have my 29 game plan for are right front row of the upper deck from behind the plate, looking straight down the third baseline. Mike Elias sits kind of downward and to the left. I believe every game I've been to this year, Elias has sat in his seats for the entire game, or most of it, with Sig Mejdal right behind him, right? I did not see Elias or Sig once last night. I'm not sure that they were even at the stadium, which there's one of 2 reasons that could be the case, in my opinion. Number one, which I think is a little more unlikely, he didn't want to have to take any questions from fans. Why'd you trade Austin Hayes, right? Because I think that's a casual fan take. It's Hayes is a veteran who's been here for 7 years. Why did you trade him, right? There's a reason Hayes was traded. The second is, I think he's still working.
Yeah.
I really think there are more moves to be made, and I think that is his focus right now. But I absolutely think there was some input from him with, all right, we're shifting gears here. We don't have Austin Hayes anymore. These are the guys we want to get regular playing time, and you got to stick to it. And I absolutely do believe.
I do think it was pretty cool that we saw Cal and Rick Dempsey at the game last night. I thought that was pretty.
Dempsey, by the way, I tweeted this, and I'm not actually blaming Rick Dempsey, but Dempsey was sitting with Cal, talking to him in the front row for the first 5 innings, and then left before the 6th inning. And what happened in the 6th inning?
Just took those
Padres
vibes away, man.
Runs.
So
I'm not blaming Rick Dempsey,
but I'm not blaming him. Things are they were up. Things are going well. Today's show brought to you by Glenn Clark Radio. Did you miss anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Cedric Mullins, Al Bunbury, Chris Rose, and former MLB reliever and Catonsville native Jeff Nelson? If so, you can find all those chats and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature right now at PressBoxOnline.com, and watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, or right here on Facebook and YouTube. Brian, I'm going to hold off on soft toss for right now, if that's okay with you, just because of the fact that I've got an open house I have to be to at noon, so I got to be out of here a little bit sooner today.
That's fine. I was just going to say that I met Jeff Nelson, I think in 2006 or 2007 at a candy kitchen down in Ocean City.
Did you know it was him when you saw him?
My dad. Oh. No, but my dad did, and he asked the cashier for a piece of receipt paper, and I got Jeff Nelson's autograph on a candy kitchen receipt.
That's cool. So yeah, speaking of GCR, I didn't even mean to put the ad right before this segment. That's just, good intuition. On GCR yesterday, Glenn, Stan, and Griffin played 5 words or less, where they gave their take on potential trade targets and Orioles prospects mentioned in trade talks in 5 words or less. We're going to do something similar today, Ryan, because it was like I really liked that. But it's not 5 words or less, but rather 1 word, term, or phrase. Okay? So for the potential targets, your word, term, or phrase will be based on your opinion of the player, or whether you think they'd end up here or not. Or it can be and or. Like your opinion, and if you think that, but it's got to be in one word, term, or phrase. Okay. For the prospect, your word, term, or phrase will be based on your opinion of trading the player or their post-deadline future in Baltimore. Okay. So let's start it out.
Okay. I think I got it.
Tariq Skubal.
Ace. Does he end up here? I don't think so, personally.
My 1 word, Tiger. Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah. That one's kind of tough. I'm trying to think of a word that means I want to keep him, but I'm open to trading him if it's in the right deal. I don't know.
It doesn't have to be a word. You could just say, do what you got to do.
Sure. Do what you got to do.
My phrase is set it and forget it. In other words, play him every day.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Mason Miller.
Not happening.
Dumbass. Broke his hand right at the trade deadline with an opportunity to potentially get traded to a contender, and breaks his hand, and now he's not getting traded to anybody. I mean, he could. It's his non-pitching hand, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
The original story was that he pounded at the training table in frustration after a win on Monday night. I was like, I looked up the game log from that. He pitched a scoreless 9th inning and they won 4-0. Why was he pissed off? And then the manager comes out and says, oh, he was getting his normal, recovery in the training room, and someone reminded him he had to do a post-game lift. And it was just like, damn it. And shattered his pinky.
How do you shatter your pinky? Anyway. Kobe Mayo.
The answer.
Promote him. Tanner Scott.
Yeah. We're on the same lines there. Tanner Scott. All right, this one's going to be a phrase too. Well, I'll say if he's the best available.
Walk rate. Scares the living ass out of me.
Yeah. Now, and there's a comment as well that if we bring these up at the end of the show, someone mentioned Camilo Duvall, who we I believe brought up last week from the Giants. I would prefer him to Tanner Scott personally. but we'll see what happens. That's why I say if Scott is the best guy you can
the
get
problem
on
there is
league.
that everybody in the National League, except for like 3 teams, is in playoff contention. I don't know the Giants, unless they look at their division, they say we're not catching the Padres or the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks are coming. Connor Norby.
Flexible.
Trust him. Eric Fetty.
Yeah.
Is
that a phrase? Meh.
No, thank you. Jackson Holiday.
Centerpiece.
Not ready, but you can't trade him.
Yeah. Centerpiece has two meanings for me. Number one, he's the centerpiece of a deal if you're getting a legitimate ace like a Tarek Skubal. I'm okay with that. Alternatively, he's the centerpiece of this team going forward.
Yeah, when you said it, I thought you meant centerpiece of the franchise. That's how it took.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both for me.
Garrett Crochet.
Bullheaded.
Oh, that's a good one. Garrett Crochet. Too much too soon. Cade Povich.
5.
Figure it out. Too many walks.
Yeah.
Brent Rooker.
Sure.
Pipe dream. Samuel Basayo.
Freak of nature.
First to go.
Okay. I can be
Carlos Estevez.
Sneaky.
This one's not a prospect, but I'll put him in here anyway. Cedric Mullins. Oh my God! Word for word, what I was going to say. Word for word, what I was going to say. Thank you for your service. And then this one's more just for fun. He's not getting traded. He's not a prospect, but nobody thinks he's going to be here next year. Corbin Burns and his future after this season.
I fear I might be stealing word for word your response to this one too. Blank check.
Oriole. I think he's there. I think he is their. I think he is their top priority in the offseason. I think he's their top priority in the offseason. All right, well done. That was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. All right. The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Maryland Governor Wes Moore sits down with Press Box to discuss the sports topics significant to his administration, including the stadium and grounds lease for the Orioles, the future of horse racing in the state, and much more. Also, this is our annual travel issue with information about sports tourism opportunities throughout the state that you and your family can take advantage of this summer. You can find a new Press Box all throughout the region, including at 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Time for our AL East wrap-up. Aaron Judge hit a moonshot 3-run homer that in the top of the 7th, traveling an estimated 470 feet. And then Austin Wells followed it up with a solo shot of his own to turn a 4-3 deficit into a 7-4 Yankees lead, but it would not last. Ceddanne Rafaela hit a 2-run shot in the bottom half of the inning, and then in the bottom of the 8th, Wilyer Abreu doubled home run and Masataka Yoshida singled home a pair to give the Red Sox a 9-7 lead that would hold up. For Clay Holmes, it was his 7th blown save of the season. Adolis Garcia homered and drove in 3, and Jonah Heim added 2 hits and 2 ribs, but Andrew Heaney and the Texas bullpen couldn't take advantage as Toronto kept hanging around, culminating with an Ernie Clement walk-off single after Kirby Yates intentionally walked Spencer Horwitz to load the bases in the bottom of the 9th. Jays take it 6-5. And finally, Nick Lodolo and Shane Baz each gave up 2 runs in the first 2 innings and then settled into a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel, the former allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs over 6 2/3, the latter just 2 hits and 2 earned runs over 6 innings, as the score remained 2-2 into extra innings. Stuart Fairchild played the hero, ripping a run-scoring double in the top of the 10th to give the Reds a 3-2 lead, and the Rays couldn't bring home their ghost runner in the bottom half, sealing the Reds' victory. As for today's game, Dean Kramer takes the hill for the Orioles this afternoon with first pitch slated for 4:05. Kramer is 4-6 with a 4.43 ERA and has not looked very imposing since returning from the IL. In 4 starts since his return, Kramer's recorded just 1 out in the 6th and has failed to make it out of the 5th inning twice, surrendering 4 home runs and walking 10 in 19 innings while pitching to a 4.74 ERA. Kramer has made 1 start versus the Padres. That came last August 16th when he went 6 innings, allowing 3 runs on 5 hits, taking the L in a 5-2 loss in San Diego. The Padres counter with former Yankee Michael King. King is 8-6 with a 3.28 ERA with 135 strikeouts in just 118 innings pitched. Not just, but a lot more strikeouts than innings pitched. King has been on a tear recently, allowing just 1 earned run in each of his last 4 starts, pitching to a 1.28 ERA while striking out 26 and walking just 5 in 24 1/3 innings pitched over that stretch. Overall, King has allowed 2 earned runs or less in 8 of his last 9 starts and has pitched to a 2.52 ERA with just 4 home runs allowed since May 1st after allowing 10 home runs and a 5 ERA in his first 7 games of the season. Because remember, they played, I think, in Japan and had 2 games before anybody else. In his career versus Baltimore, King has made 13 appearances, the last 12 of which have come in relief. He is 2-1 with a 2.63 ERA after making 4 relief appearances against them in 2023 with the Yankees, where he allowed just 1 run on 3 hits and 3 walks with 10 strikeouts in 7 1/3 innings. Do we care about a possible lineup for today's game? It doesn't matter. Just go out there and tear the freaking cover off the ball and win, please.
I just traded Michael King away in fantasy, so please shell this guy.
Yeah, please do so. Please. Even if it didn't help Ryan, shell him anyway.
Yeah, even if I still had it, I had Taj Bradley in my rotation. The Orioles put up 9 runs against them a couple months ago, and Bradley has been absolutely nails since then. Stud. Yeah. Speaking of guys in the AL East who Taj Bradley, I'm hoping Grayson Rodriguez can follow a similar path where, it took Bradley a little bit to figure it out, but damn, he looks good right now, and I'm hoping that.
And look, Grayson's been more good than bad. It's just that he struggles after the 5th inning, it seems like. But I still have a lot of faith in Grayson Rodriguez. I think that he's a damn good pitcher.
Me too.
While high school sports season has come to an end for this year, County Sports Zone will be providing great high school sports content all summer long. We're getting that much closer to the football season. For the latest in coaching changes, football previews, and more, check out countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Ryan, what's on tap?
Yeah, we've got the series finale with the Padres on Sunday, which is Adley Rutschman bobblehead day. Make sure you get there early. It's a switch hitter bobblehead. You'll get a choice of – you won't get a choice. You'll get one of 2. Megan and I are going. We've already agreed that once we hit the gate, we're going to split ways so that hopefully we get a couple different boxes, get one of each. The Jays will come to town following Sunday's game for a 4-game series. That'll begin with a Monday doubleheader, a makeup game from what was rained out a month and a half-ish ago, I would say. So that's a single admission doubleheader on Monday, 2 more games Tuesday and Wednesday. Then the Orioles will head out to Cleveland for a 4-game series, which could have major playoff seeding implications, as the Guardians currently have a 1-game lead on the Orioles for the American League's top overall.
Yeah, I think Zach Eflin's going to get to start on one of those 2 games of the doubleheader because I would put him on normal rest. I think that we'll see him debut against the Blue Jays. I know we will, but I think it'll be in that doubleheader to start the series. So take the rake. Ryan, you said I don't even have to look. Gunner's been asleep at the wheel. I did the numbers anyway. 132. Well, I did it because he hasn't been he's been getting hits, but they've all been singles, right? So I thought maybe he put together a decent enough batting average. He didn't. 130, 2 doubles, no RBIs, 5 walks, 6 Ks, 503 OPS. I took Tony Taters. He had 269, but he had 3 home runs, drove in 5, had a walk, 5 strikeouts, and 957 OPS. Did you change the standings when you did this, or did you leave it? Because I thought I had taken a 5-4 lead, but I couldn't remember because I changed it to 6-4, but.
Yeah, I hadn't changed it. I believe as it is currently in the notes is correct, including.
All right. So the standings now currently I am up 6 wins to 4, and there are 3 ties. I get to pick first, and I think what I'm gonna do is try and manifest Adley Rutschman clawing his way out of this. I'm going to take Adley Rutschman.
I'm going to take anybody, please. But if I have to pick one, I feel like Santander is the chalk pick right now, and that's probably the safest play. However, I'm going to go with Colton Cowser. I think he continues his little run, and mostly because I want him to.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm gonna take Cowser.
I don't want this to be just another 2 or 3 week stretch like he did at the start of the season and he falls into a hole again. Like, keep this going the rest of the year. You don't have to hit 320 the rest of the year, but like, hit 280 the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I want this Austin Hayes trade to signify, and I think more than anything, it opens up playing time for Kjerstad. But I want the Austin Hayes trade to signify to Colton Cowser, hey man, we believe in you. You're our guy.
Yeah.
Prove us right. And I think he will prove them right.
I agree. All right, a little bit of fan interaction here. A guy I used to play a lot of baseball with, Joe DiBasilio. Best part of the trade is getting Hayes out of the lineup. Joe will text me every so often about the Orioles and about Brandon Hyde and how and some of the head scratching decisions. Joe knows a lot about baseball, and I really enjoy hearing from him. Sometimes I feel like I have to talk him off the ledge a little bit, but he, which is weird because it's me, right? But
yeah, I was gonna say
I really respect Joe's baseball opinion, and he's actually pretty funny with some of the stuff he says to me too. And you know what, I didn't hate Austin Hayes' bat, but I didn't think he deserved to be to be a regular anymore. And I think that he did think he deserved to be a regular, despite starting the season. What was it, 2 for 35 or something like that? That got Jackson Holliday demoted. And he thinks he should be playing every day. Adit said, would you do Stowers plus 1 prospect in 11 to 20 range for Fairbanks? Also, could the Giants be interested enough in Mountcastle in return for taking it on around 20% of Snell's remaining money in a trade? I'd say yes to both. I would not hesitate with the Stowers thing, although Fairbanks' velo is down a little bit this year. I believe his walk numbers are up a little bit, but he's still a damn good reliever. I will 100% do Stowers and an 11 to 20 range prospect for Fairbanks.
I still trust Fairbanks in the ninth over Kimbrel.
And Mountcastle, I don't know that just Mountcastle alone gets it done for Snell, but if the Giants said, hey, we'll take Ryan Mountcastle off your hands if you in exchange for Blake Snell and 20% of his salary, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if the Giants are willing to move Snell, and if it's true that the Orioles, that what David Rubenstein has said is true, that he's willing to listen to Elias's advice, and while he's not going to be like, hey, I've got a big bag of money to throw around, he's also he's going to do what the GM thinks is best. Snell moves to the top.
He's been really good his last 3 starts.
I love Blake Snell. I think he'd be a perfect guy to throw in between Burns and Grayson Rodriguez. And then it makes Eflin your number 4 starter, which is a lot better. It pushes
Kramer to your number 5. I can live with that. I think it puts the Orioles in the driver's seat again. I absolutely do.
Yeah. So if Snell's going to be available and the Orioles are willing to take on that contract, absolutely.
Joe's back. He says, now need to get Mullins, Arias, and maybe Mountcastle out of the rotation. By rotation, he means rotation of players in the lineup. I don't have any. And that's the thing. I had so much faith for so long in Ryan Mountcastle. And look, dude, the proof's in the pudding, man. He's fine. But I expected this guy to be a perennial 270 hitter with 30 home runs, and he hasn't sniffed that since his rookie year. I think the time's come, and you've got Kobe Mayo waiting in the wings. I think the time's come. You've got to thank you for your service, Ryan. Yeah, I think all 3 of these guys don't need to be Baltimore Orioles much longer. Ryan?
Yeah, look, I love Ryan Mountcastle. But look, Randall, who is in the comments again today, we haven't brought him up yet, but he said last week that he deals with vertigo and that it comes back all the time and it's awful. If that's going to be, especially if that's going to be a lingering issue with Mountcastle, you gotta find a way to upgrade. And if Kobe Mayo is the answer at first base, then so be it. Ryan O'Hearn's defense there isn't great. Mayo's won't be either. at least not until he gets more comfortable over at first base. But yeah, I'm with you. Mountcastle just doesn't look good right now. We know what he can't do well, and it's kind of hard to watch.
He's hit 2 home runs since the second week of June. Like that's not going to get it done. Randall.
Yeah, and a lot of his hits have been. We mentioned this last week as well. Have been kind of little weak shots to right.
He's not pulling the ball with any authority right now. Eflin is an improvement, but not the answer. It did take care of small needs. They have to make the ace-type trade that may sting a bit, but necessary. We already know where you're going with this, Randall. We already know. Yes, the O's can still try to find it, still try to fill a Seattle need, and that's another bet. I don't know what using S means. And then here it is. If I can bring it up. Yes, O's should still try a trade with Seattle for Gilbert. Seattle is looking for another strong bat to complement Randy, and O's can meet the requirement. If they want a bat to help them get to help them get into the playoffs, why would they trade their best starting pitcher, Randall? Like, I'm saying it right now. I am not reading another comment from you about Logan Gilbert. I'm not going to do it, man. I'm not going to do it because it is so far-fetched. He is never getting – I'm not going to say never. Never for this season. Logan Gilbert is not getting traded from Seattle. Not to Baltimore, not to the Dodgers, not to the Yankees, not to anybody. Seattle wants to be in the playoffs. They're not going to trade their ace, who's under team control. They're not going to do it.
That would be like the Orioles trading Grayson Rodriguez for a closer.
They're not going to do it. And like, I'm not trying to be a jerk to you, man, but you've been calling for Gilbert since November, and it's just never going to happen. It's just never going to.
And like I said last week, I get why you like Logan Gilbert. I get why you want Logan Gilbert. The Seattle Mariners feel the same way. It wouldn't make any sense from
I like, Garrett Cole, as far as like what he could do for my team. The Yankees aren't going to trade him. It's not going to happen. Kimbrel should not have came in. Ace says Kimbrel should not have come in last night after 28 pitches prior. That's my biggest issue with Hyde. I think we both yelled about that. He was yelling about that while we were yelling about it. While I was, growling about it. And hell no, this can't be the only moves we make. Trade some of these prospects for a top line pitcher. Burns most likely not going to be back next year. So, I don't think that we can just unequivocally say he's not coming back next year. I think that he's the Orioles' top priority this offseason.
He's not going to sign an extension during this season. He's going to try out the open market, but he's made it clear that he wants to win. And if the Orioles can show him that he has the best chance to win here, then I think he's going to want to come back. And I think you said on social media yesterday, because he's going to command a massive contract. It might be the largest ever for a starting pitcher. You're paying for the front end of that contract, and then you live with the back end. And Corbin Burns is a guy who looks like he's going to age gracefully, right? His strikeouts are down a little bit. He's not missing bats like we're accustomed to seeing, but he's still on track for one of his best seasons of his career. He's top 3 in the American League, might be top 2 in ERA. He's finding ways to be successful even if he's not striking guys out, and that's something that ages very well.
He's got great pitchability. The guy knows how to pitch. It's why Mike Messina and Greg Maddux were so good for so long. Randall says, how about the O's give Holiday a shot in the outfield since his speed, glove, and bat skills are excellent? Go figure. I did hear a rumor months ago that they were trying him out in center field. That I feel like that kind of went away very quickly. I don't know how much they like his arm to put him in the outfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I wouldn't use Holiday in a trade for anyone. He's that damn good. I'd have to be blown away to be willing to trade to part ways with Jackson.
Yeah, I'm only entertaining a Jackson Holiday trade if it's going to get you back a controllable stud starting pitcher.
I blame Hyde for last night's loss. Again, another dumb move. They're all dumb moves. Everything he does is stupid to me. Like even when he does good things at this point, it's stupid to me because I just can't stand him. He's a terrible manager, and I always feel nervous when I say stuff like that, and when I put it out there, I'm done being nervous. Like, he's terrible, and I want him gone. He's terrible, and I want him gone. Daniel Pitts, every time Kimbrel comes into the game, I expect us to lose. How is he our closer? Track record, history. He was good. He was an all-star last year. He was an all-star 3 years ago. Like,
and he's had 2 stretches this year alone where he's been dominant. So like he's earned a little bit of a longer leash, but I mean, whether it's misuse by Brandon Hyde or just simply, falling into another rut, it's just it's hard to watch, man. There's got to be an answer.
Pitts also said Hyde's obsession with left-right matchups drives me insane. It's like the only thing that he feels like he knows how to do. It's like numbers be damned, feel for the game be damned. The pitcher's right-handed. I'm getting my left-handed batter in there. The pitcher's left-handed. I'm pinch hitting for my left-handed batter, even if his name is Ryan O'Hearn and he's hitting. In his last 5 plate appearances against left-handed hitters, he has 5 hits. Like, screw it. I'm going with a right-handed batter. It's mind-boggling to me. Ace says, tell me how you really feel, Paul. I hate Brandon Hyde. I think he's a terrible manager. I think he's a dude. I think, like, as far as like people, he's probably really great to have a beer with. He's probably he's like a guy's guy, but like being a guy's guy doesn't mean you're qualified to lead a Major League Baseball club. I think he's an absolutely awful manager. Randall, sorry, I laughed so hard when Mullins came in because I knew it was over. Hyde has cost his team way too many games due to dumb moves. As soon as I saw Cedric Mullins, and I was like, who's he pinching in for? I was like, oh my God, it's Connor Norby. What are we doing? He's going to strike out. I saw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that he was like very late on. 100-mile-an-hour fastball, he had no chance on, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, did you think anything other than this was going to happen? Ace says, at Randall, I'd give up Holiday for Skubal. I'm not just willing to say I'm giving up Holiday, but if it's for a guy like Skubal, that's a move that I think you have to make.
Yeah, when you look at the strengths and weaknesses of the current team, what gives them the best chance to win a World Series this year?
I'm just going to fly through these because these are all about Brandon Hyde. Paul, you were speaking for all of us on Hyde. Ace says Hyde's managing has lost more games for us than he has won. Ace said talent has won the games, not the manager. The next one is funny. Rivori Sports Podcast. I'm starting to think you're not a Brandon Hyde fan. Randall says O's won 101 due to talent, not Hyde. Hyde needs to go. Ace, I got flashbacks last night of Ubaldo coming in with Britton sitting there watching. First and foremost, getting back to all the I don't want to just like fly through the Hyde comments. Like, it's becoming very obvious and very apparent to a lot more people these days that Brandon Hyde's management style is not great. It's his player interaction style is great, but the way that he manages in game, he has no feel for the game, for the in-game things. He just goes by, if you're left-handed, you can't hit left-handed pitching. That's, in my opinion, that's all he does, and I think it's very, very stupid, and I think a lot of people are seeing that. As for Ace, I got flashbacks last night of Ubaldo coming in with Britton sitting there watching. I see.
I wouldn't go that far because we don't have Jack Britton sitting in the bullpen, but like I get the sentiment.
Randall said Yankees have 2 hitters and that's it. I've been saying that since January. Like, DJ LeMahieu ain't the same guy. Anthony Rizzo hasn't been the same guy for years. Anthony Volpe is not a hitter, despite how much Zach Goodman loves him. They just don't have those guys in the lineup. Like, if you can get Judge and Soto out 3 times each in a game, or walk them, you're not gonna. You have a great chance to win that ball game. They don't have anybody else, and the fact that they've built their roster that way, and they didn't see what I saw. And again, I'm not sitting here saying that like I know. How can you not know? Like, how can you look at that lineup and think that there's anybody else that's going to do anything? I tweeted it in the off season. I was like, unless Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are homering twice a game every game, they're not going to be better than the Orioles this year. Yeah. And it's not been hard recently to be better than the Orioles, and they still haven't been.
Right.
Let's see. Daniel Pitts, how many times has it happened this season when a player is getting on a hot streak, decide to sit them for the next 2 games because of a left-right matchup and they go cold again? Heston looked like he was starting to get comfortable, and then he didn't play for 4 games, it felt like. I don't know. He trusts Colton Cowser. I don't think he trusts him so much as he's the only other center fielder, and he trusts him more than Mullins, and then Gunnar. Only 2 guys that Brandon Hyde will let routinely face left-handed batters as left-handed pitchers as left-handed hitters. But,
my obsession with the splits, even when the splits don't exist.
I'm not Norm Rust. I'm not a fan of Captain Hook, but at the end of the day, players win and lose ball games. They're just not good enough talent-wise. See, that's not true.
They have so much talent.
Yeah, the GM bears some responsibility in all this, but he gets a pass on his failures over the last 2 years. Get better. 41. That goes on to say 41 years and counting. The GM, I have no issues with Mike Elias. I think that he hasn't called up Kobe Mayo because they don't trust his defense at third base, so they want to get him more comfortable at first before they call him up.
And even a couple nights ago, he started at first base and had 2 errors in the first 6 innings.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think that if they trusted his defense even a little bit, he'd be here. I think he's 100% not here because they don't know where to play him. And Norby, I mean, I feel like they just love the defense from Mateo. Mateo hadn't got hurt, Norby still wouldn't be here. Yeah. And Holiday, I don't think that they think that he's ready. And I don't think that they want to call him up again and have to send him back down. I think that they want to know for certain. And when they call him up, we saw how apologetic Elias was and remorseful he was about Jackson Holiday when he called him up and then had to send him back down. He doesn't want to do that again.
Yeah. That kind of we can move on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to the point he made where players win and lose ball games, yes, that's 100% true. However, like I brought up earlier, when the fundamentals are not there, that comes back to the coaching staff. And whether it's Hyde or some combination of Hyde and the hitting coaches and the infield coaches, whatever it is, right? It's a problem. But you've got to, even if you're struggling to find results, the fundamentals have to be there. And when they're not, that goes back to the manager. I understand, look, you can live with a player making an error if it's a fundamentally sound error and it's just simply, took a weird hop, kicked off the heel of your glove, whatever. These are fundamental errors that these teams are making. And that goes back to the coaching staff.
Ace. Hate the Yankees, but I bet they'll make bigger moves at the deadline than the O's do. Hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. They don't have, from what stockpile of talent, they have 1 top 100 prospect. It's not who's the guy? I keep wanting to call him Dominguez, but
Spencer Jones.
Spencer Jones is their top 100 guy, but who's the other guy that they have? Who was hurt for a while? He just came back, but he's in AAA, I think.
No, it is Dominguez. Jason Dominguez.
Jason Dominguez. So they have 2 guys to trade from. They're not gonna. How are they gonna make bigger moves? Are they gonna trade Soto? They don't have anything to trade from.
Dude, I was at the game with my cousin last night, and we were kind of talking about that. It's if the Yankees are offered a good prospect and 3 or 4 currently league average hitters for Juan Soto, you might have to do it. The Yankees aren't going to trade Soto, but it might be in their best interest, especially if they're not going to be able to ink him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, for sure. Ravori Sports Podcast, Razor 500 and just sold their entire team. I mean, they know that they're not going to catch the Orioles. They know.
Yeah.
Let me see. AJ said, like the Hayes trade, hated that we gave up pretty much our entire draft from last year for a back of the rotation arm for the Rays, as if the Rays ever lose a pitching trade, complete fleecing. I don't think that's fleecing at all. They got 3 low-level prospects.
I think it's way too early to call it fleecing. I think for this year, it's a no-brainer move. You get a more reliable number 3 starter.
He's under control.
And you trade 3 question marks, right? Even if Zach Eflin wins 2 playoff games for the Orioles this year, it's a successful trade, even if Matt Horvath is a 4-time All-Star and Jackson Baumeister is a good number 2, right?
Yeah.
You got to make moves that are going to help you win as your window is open.
Yeah, you can't just not make trades because of what guys might be throughout the entire farm system. Like you've got to give up talent to get talent. You have to. AJ says, "Praying we get Camino Duvall and solid starter." Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. I'm gonna fly through these because I really got to go. Daniel Pitts, there's no way Mountcastle is still on this team on Wednesday. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that they want to make room for Mayo. Ryan,
I could see him being moved. I don't think you can say there's no way he's still on the team. I think it's more likely than not that he's still here personally.
AJ says hitting sucks and they have 2 hitting coaches. Paralysis by overanalysis. Oh, I like that. Paralysis by overanalysis.
I disagree, AJ. I think they should hire a 3rd hitting coach.
Yeah, Paul Valley.
I'm joking.
AJ says Hyde is a bad. I should never be anybody's hitting coach, by the way. AJ says Hyde is a bad manager. Period. I agree.
I don't disagree.
AJ says Bob Melvin manages the Giants. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Like they let him go. It was so weird because the fact that they let him talk to the Giants while he was still managing their team.
Yeah, isn't like Mike Schilt? Isn't that the Padres manager?
I can't even remember now. It
was. I was gonna
Bob
say because you said Bob Melvin and I believed you, but I feel like his name is Mike Schilt. I could be wrong.
I said Bob Melvin and I barely believed myself. And no, he's absolutely right because when it happened, like he requested permission from the Padres to go interview with the Giants, and I was like, they're in your division. Why would they do that?
Right.
And they let it happen. Maybe they just didn't like him. Daniel Pitts, it worked out, but why was O'Hearn not pinch run for in the 8th when we were down 1 and he was on second? Because the game was tied and they thought they might need his bat.
Yeah, I mean, 1 out, runner on second. I don't think I'm pinch running there. If it was 2 outs, runner on second, and he's the tying run, then yeah, I think you run Pache for him there. But I think it was the right move to save Pache to be the go-ahead run, just based on the situation.
AJ says, I hope Elias takes over now and trades away Mullins, Mountcastle, Arias, and Mateo to permanently shut up Hyde, a la the Moneyball scene. I mean, he owns. He doesn't own. He runs the team. He has taken over, but like, I firmly agree. I'm firmly agree that Mullins, Arias, and Mateo shouldn't be here anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Mateo, but like you have to use him the way he's meant to be used, not as an everyday player.
Right.
This is three straight seasons that they've tried this everyday player with him, and it's biting them in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Pitts. It sounds cold, but they have been good Orioles because they've been good Orioles in the past. But Arias, Mullins, and Mountcastle should not be on this team. I can't disagree. Maybe Mountcastle's the only one I can disagree with, but I can't disagree with the other 2 at this point. They've given you nothing.
The only thing, like I understand why people are chomping at the bit to move Mountcastle, but at the same time, like you just moved Austin Hayes, who was one of your better hitters against lefties. If you move Mountcastle as well, I understand he's been struggling at the plate, but like we're talking about the need for a right-handed bat. I'm not sure subtraction is the way to go there unless you're going to replace him with Mayo and bring in, another right-handed hitting outfielder. I just can't see it personally.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Mountcastle may end up. I don't necessarily disagree that he would be gone, but I don't think there's no way he's still here on Wednesday.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just going to go through a couple of these guys. Really got to go. Is Mateo done for the year? They haven't said he's done for the year. I don't see how he comes back after that injury. The fact that he wasn't immediately put on the IL after you saw the replays, like his arm bent in half. And they were like, oh, he's day to day. Like, no, he was hurt. Norby should have been activated that night. Brian W., I know they traded for Burns, but they knew Bradish was done in January. Platelet-rich BS, never rare. Actually, we pulled the numbers and showed that it works a lot.
Yeah. Was it grade 1 or grade 2, whatever? The PRP injections typically have a good track record of success. Yeah. But I get the point. Like you kind of, and we talked about it in the past. Like we kind of knew every time Bradish was on the mound, it was like, is this the pitch where his elbow is going to explode? Like we had that feeling all. Yeah. The whole time he was on the mound.
I didn't have that feeling until that start against the Phillies. I didn't have that feeling until I started against the Phillies when I saw him throwing 99 and I saw him like do this with his throwing arm. And then I was like, uh-oh. And then he blew out his elbow like 2 innings later. The fact that Hyde and Brian Ebel didn't come running out of the dugout when he did that blew my mind. Palmer noted about it. I noted about it. I said it to myself when it happened. And like 2 innings later, he's done for the rest of this year, most of next year. Art Howe's a better manager than Brandon Hyde. Agreed. I gotta go. I can't believe I stayed on this long. Thank you to everybody who commented. If we didn't get to your comments, I am so sorry. This is extenuating circumstance for me. I'm already going to be late to this thing. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Without you, we do not have a show.